Story 1. I've been working in corporate finance for 3 years now, and let me tell you, the amount of times people assume I work at retail stores just because I'm black is astounding. Like, seriously, I have a master's in business administration from Northwestern, but apparently that doesn't matter the moment I step into any retail establishment. This particular incident happened last week. I had just finished a long day at work, where I'd given a presentation to our board about our Q1 projections. I was still in my work clothes, navy blue pixie pants, a cream blouse, and this really cute plaid blazer I'd gotten from Nordstrom that had brown and navy blue patterns. I was carrying my brown leather laptop bag, which honestly cost more than most people's monthly grocery budget. Corporate life does have its perks. I needed to restock my skincare supplies, so I stopped by Sephora. The actual employees there wear all black with red aprons, which, obviously, looked nothing like what I was wearing. I grabbed a basket and started picking up my usual products: cleanser, toner, serum, you know the drill. I was checking the ingredients on this new vitamin C serum when I heard someone clear their throat behind me. I thought they wanted to get past me in the aisle, so I moved to the side. But then they cleared their throat again, louder this time. That's when this middle-aged white woman with the classic "Can I speak to your manager" haircut complained that she'd been waiting for help for 5 minutes. When I turned to look at her, she was holding a product in her perfectly manicured hands. When I asked her what she meant, she repeated herself more firmly, explaining that she'd been trying to get my attention and needed to know if her product was available in the back since there were none on the shelf. I told her directly that I didn't work for Sephora and never had. She responded with disbelief, demanding to know what else I could possibly be doing there if I wasn't an employee. At this point, I was getting really irritated. The audacity of this woman to assume that the only reason a black woman would be in Sephora was to work there was just. I took a deep breath. I challenged her assumptions, asking what about my outfit suggested I worked there, and explained that I was shopping with money from my actual job, the one I got with my fancy college degree. She just stood there blinking at me like her brain was short-circuiting. Then she had the nerve to ask if I could at least find an employee to help her. I responded by pointing out that I was a customer just like her, and unlike her, I didn't make racist assumptions about people. She immediately got defensive, denying any racism and demanding to speak to my manager. I decided to have some fun with it. I pulled out my phone and pretended to make a call, loudly pretending to speak with my actual boss Sarah about how I was her senior financial analyst who had just given a board presentation, not a Sephora employee. I held out my phone, even though I hadn't actually called anyone. The look on her face was priceless. She stood there speechless, her face turning as red as the Sephora employee's aprons. An actual Sephora employee approached us then, asking if everything was okay. Karen practically ran away, abandoning her product on a random shelf. The employee and I exchanged knowing looks, and when they asked if she had assumed I worked there, I confirmed it was the third such incident that month at different stores. The employee helped me find a few more products I was looking for, and even gave me some samples of a new face mask they'd just gotten in. I ended up spending way more than I planned to. But hey, retail therapy after dealing with entitled people is totally justified, right? As I was checking out, I saw Karen at another register, trying to avoid making eye contact with me. I made sure to flash my platinum credit card extra visibly while paying, just to drive the point home. Petty, maybe? Satisfying? Absolutely. Story 2. So, a few days ago, I was going to the KFC with my sister. I'm still a minor, but my sister is already around 33, and her 3-year-old kid. We were loving the food, eating and entertaining her kid until we finished the food and decided to wash our hands. This is my fault indeed, but I forgot to take my phone with me when we went to the bathroom. Her kid wanted to pee, so we ended up being on the toilet for too long than usual. When we went back, I was met by the sight of my phone not being in the same place that I initially placed it. And the tempered glass is broken. It wasn't broken before. I was confused, so I asked the person sitting beside me about what happened. It turns out that the kid who sat behind me tried to take my phone when the three of us went to the bathroom, but it fell from the table before he could take it. I was kind of angry, but my sister said that it was my fault for leaving it there, and kids are kids, to which I agreed, so I didn't think much of it. I did go up to the kid, though. He was alone in his seat, so I just asked him as calmly as I could, "Were you the kid who tried to take this phone?" With my phone in my hand. I could see him being visibly scared, but he managed to find the courage to answer. He said that his mother told him to play with the phone, and that he's sorry because he didn't mean to do it. He seems to be around 5'7", so it was said with a very simple vocabulary. I was confused hearing the first part, like, did a mother just tell her son to steal someone's belongings? I asked. Why did your mother tell you to take my phone? He answered that he wanted to play with his mother's phone, but his mother didn't let him and told him to take my phone instead. My sister, who had been hearing our conversation the entire time, was visibly confused, so she asked, "Where is your mother right now?" He pointed to the toilet. So my sister and I decided to wait until she's back. When she's back, this whole conversation occurred. My sister, is your son the person who broke my brother's phone? Entitled mother, what? No, my son would never do such a thing. But your son said that he was the one who broke it. Her face went from trying to look as dumbfounded as possible to agitated, looking at her own son sharply before replying. Entitled mother, oh, yeah, but it's still your brother's fault for leaving the phone like that. Besides, he's just a child. But your son said that you told him to take the phone. The entitled mother began to look exasperated, looking at her own son one more time in an irritated manner. Well, still, I was actually going to ask your brother first if he could lend the phone, but you guys were taking too long. I'm sure he'd agree if he was here. Me. Still, you told your son to take my phone without my permission. That's stealing, you know? What? Are you really going to not lend your phone to a small child? How rude. My sister. He would, if you asked for his permission first. Now that the phone's broken, I expect you to pay for the damages. No way. He's a child. Of course he'll make mistakes. Also, like I said, we would have asked if you didn't stay in the bathroom for too long. Even if you didn't tell him to take my phone without my permission, my phone wouldn't have been broken. Still, he's a child. Are you really going to be hurt just because of a child? Are you stupid? You told your child to take my brother's phone without his permission, and now his phone is broken because you told him to take it. We would have let it go if your child was acting on his own, but you enabled his behavior, so of course you need to be held accountable. Like I said, it's your brother's fault for leaving his phone in the open. I'm sure someone else would have taken it too. And again, he's just a child. Holy, are you really defending the act of stealing? By this point, we had already built a small commotion. The KFC was kind of vacant, and an employee was behind us as well, trying to stop the arguing, although it didn't help much. The entitled mother's child is sitting as close as he could to his mother, a bit scared because of the crowd and the loud arguing. My sister's kid, on the other hand, was eating the KFC sundae besides my sister, a bit afraid but still calm nonetheless. This is when things get interesting, though. I didn't really see it, and even if I did I wouldn't know how to describe it either, but my sister's kid tripped on something, and the sundae on his hand fell on the entitled mother and her kid's food. She of course went mad and screamed, "What the?" I was told to take my sister's kid back to my seat, but I just picked him up as the employee tried to intervene. Maybe he wanted to clean the table or offer to replace the meal, I don't know, but failed because of how intense the arguing was. Entitled mother, what did your child just do to my food? My sister, sorry, he didn't mean it. Bebe, you should apologize, okay? Don't do that again. Do you really think a sorry is enough? You should buy me a new meal. Me, realizing how ironic this situation is, even though he's just a child, and he's bound to make mistakes. What? I'm sure you told him to spill that sundae on top of my food. None of us did. My sister, probably realizing the same thing as me, and I'm sure you told your kid to take my brother's phone without his permission. But that's different. This isn't. We'll be buying you a new meal. If you paid for the damages you caused to my brother's phone, that is. What? No, I demand you to buy us a new meal. Oh, I guess we're leaving, then. You can't just leave like employee. This isn't right. Before the entitled mother could be angrier towards us, my sister already grabbed my hand and took our belongings before heading out from the KFC. Me, being a bit confused, asked her about why we leave when we could have got her to pay for the damage. She only sighed, saying that she simply doesn't want to deal with stupid people today. I just sighed back and nodded, and we went home. Although I still wanted the entitled mother to pay for the damage. Petty, I know. My sister still paid for my tempered glass replacement, so I was fine regardless. I don't know what happened to that mother and her kid, but I hope the mother at least felt embarrassed after realizing what she had just done. Like, I genuinely am baffled at how stupid this situation was. So, yeah, don't be an entitled person. That's about it, I guess. Story 3. This was a story my mom told me about her past experiences while working at the front desk of a middle school. This story is absolutely insane, and I have to be careful in details because I have no idea if the video is still out there. Yes, there was a video, and yes, people got into huge trouble. So this story happened a while ago, so all of these characters are all a lot older now. Characters to know: my mom, entitled daughter, bullied girl, entitled mom, and pissed mom. So apparently this girl, entitled daughter, was a complete mess. She dressed extremely provocatively, had a bad reputation circulating around the school, stole from the locker room, and much more. Keep in mind, this was all while she was in middle school. All of these activities were permitted and even rewarded by her mom. Not shaming here, but the girl was like 14, and in my opinion she needed therapy, which to my knowledge never happened. Apparently her mom raised her to act like this, while the entitled mother would say her daughter would do no wrong, and she was always the victim. So the entitled daughter started bullying this girl ruthlessly. That girl's mother, the pissed mom, tried contacting the entitled mother about her daughter being a bully. The entitled mother would say, "Get lost. Real peaky family, you know." So this story starts in the cafeteria where the entitled daughter decided to tell a bunch of boys to start recording if you want to see a proper cat fight. She then proceeded to walk over to the girl she bullied and grab her by the hair on the back of her and yank. She yanked the poor girl's hair so hard that a clump of it came out. The entitled daughter then proceeded to pour a glass of water on her. As you can imagine, all hell breaks loose, and of course all of it is recorded. Teachers had to pry the girls apart from each other so they didn't actually kill each other. They then brought them into the office. They enter the office, and the teacher explains the situation to everyone there. My mom, the principal, is in a meeting right now, but I know that the vice principal would love to talk to the entitled daughter on their behalf. I'll make sure to watch this poor girl and keep those two away from each other. The teacher nods and leaves the room. The poor bullied girl: "I want to call my mom." My mom: "I understand why, but you can't do that right now. We need to keep everything controlled, and we'll make sure to call your mom after you talk to the vice principal. We know it's not your fault, but this is procedure, so you need to wait." "Okay. Can I please go to the nurse? My head really hurts and I hit my head during the fight." "Sure, just make sure to be back before the other girl is finished talking to the vice principal." The girl goes to the nurse and returns 10 minutes later with a bag of ice. Not long later, she gets called into the principal's office after they finish their meeting. At that exact moment, things hit the fan. The pissed-off mother arrived at the school, and she was livid. While in the nurse's office, the bullied girl called her mom cause the nurse didn't know what had happened, so they allowed the call. The pissed mother: "Where is she?" My mom: "Ma'am, you cannot be here right now. You cannot talk to her." Then the entitled daughter walked out of the vice principal's room with him right behind her. My mom and a few others had to physically restrain the mother who was trying to get close to that brat, who was smirking smugly at her. They pushed her into a separate room away from the pissed mother, while they tried to contact the entitled mother to pick up her daughter. My mom: "You cannot talk to her." She is a minor, and you will get arrested. Trust me, it is not worth it in the end. Pissed mother, I've tried everything. Nothing gets through to that little brat, and I've had it. I know, but do you really think your daughter would want you to be arrested over this? You need to calm down. This breaks my heart, but the pissed mom starts crying out of pure frustration and anger, and starts to open up to my mom, which happens all the time weirdly. I'm so done. I've tried everything I can to help my daughter, but nothing has been working. I call her mother, and she either doesn't pick up the call or tells me to get lost. I try to talk to her teachers, but nothing changes. I go to their house to talk with the entitled mother, and she avoids me. I don't know what to do anymore. I'll offer some advice. Transfer your daughter to a different school. There's a school that I attended in high school that's a little further away, and it is a bit more expensive, but I know you can afford it. The girl's family was pretty wealthy. The school is really good, and I think she'll have a better time there than being here. Thank you. Not long later, both the poor girl and her mother leave, but the entitled brat is still in the office waiting for her mom to show up. Entitled mother, I'm here to pick up my daughter. What happened? My mom, she is in the principal's office right now, and she started a fight with another student. My baby would never do that. Even if she did, that person obviously deserved it. My baby is an angel. Well, we have a dozen cell phone videos that say otherwise. Who dare you? Your daughter is being suspended for X weeks, and she needs to leave the school. She isn't leaving because she doesn't deserve this. Then we'll call the police, who will make sure that you both leave. Her brat walks out of the principal's office and is immediately grabbed by her mom. We don't need this. Come on, Angel, we're leaving. So many kids got in trouble over this because so many kids recorded the fight and didn't try to stop the fight or get help. One kid even posted the video onto YouTube, which caused legal problems. I'm positive it was taken down, but oh my God, I can't believe the nerve of some people. The entitled daughter continued being awful and later got expelled for drug possession on school property, and the police were called for her. Story 4. So I'm a store manager for a large chain pizza place that charges a bit more than the competition, but makes an arguably better product. We try to always believe the customer and make them happy if something is wrong. We have a loyal base of regulars who order often, as well as a lot of other business from randoms in the several nearby hotels. Friday night. Karen calls in an order of very simple pepperoni and jalapeno pizza. Driver delivers it. 30 minutes later, I'm asked to talk to an angry customer on the phone. Is this the manager? I've been on hold for over a half hour. Impossible, but okay. I'm very sorry about that, ma'am. What seems to be the problem? I'm at a hotel and your driver was so rude and my pizza is burnt. Sorry to hear that the pizza was not up to our quality standards. Can I make you another and send it out? No, don't bother. You have already ruined my kids' dinner, and they are crying now. Give me a credit, red flag. Okay, ma'am, I'll credit your number, and when you order next it will be free. I'm very sorry again, have a good night. She says, whatever, then hangs up. I credit the number and think that's the end of it. Saturday night. Hey, this lady on the phone wants to speak to a manager. They tell me. Hello, thank you for holding. This is the manager. Are you all our word? How long does it take to answer the freaking phone? I'm sorry, what? You've only been on hold a moment while my employee got me. Don't freaking tell me how long I've been on hold. I know how long I've been on hold for. I'm groaning inwardly already. A fun customer yippee. I'm sorry, ma'am, how can I assist you? My pizza is burnt, and you have the rudest delivery driver. They practically threw the pizza in my face. Light bulb clicks at this story. I've dealt with this lady before. I'm sorry to hear that. I'll definitely talk to the driver about it. Can I make you a new pizza to replace the one you said is burnt? No, give me a credit. Okay, ma'am, to ensure our quality standards are being met. Can I have a driver come pick up the burnt pizza so I can talk to my production staff about it? No, we ate it. You ate the burnt pizza? Yes, we were starving and couldn't wait for a remake, so give me a credit. For the pizza you ate? It was burnt. Let me speak to a manager. I am the manager. I want to speak to your manager. You are being so rude and disrespectful. It's because I'm black, isn't it? You racist piece of crap. Ma'am, 1. Stop cussing. 2. I have no idea what you look like or who you are, but... She cuts me off. That's right, you jerk. You don't know who the heck I am, but you are about to find out. She then hangs up before I can say anything else. Being as she was extra, I let my direct manager know about a possible complaint on my behavior and what actually went down. Just as I get off the phone with her, I hear yelling in the lobby. Where is that jerk racist manager? I step around the partition and see a woman wearing tacky bright green and orange with red shoes. Can I help you? I'm already done with this heifer because I know who it is. Gonna say some crap now? Give me a refund for my burnt pizza, and I want gas money for driving over here. You didn't pay for any pizza, it was free, and we don't reimburse gas for people driving to the store. You think this is a joke? You're going to give me my money, or it's going to go off in this. I'm 100% done at this point. Get out. What did you say? Get out of the store. You can't tell me to leave, this is a public space. No ma'am, it's a private business, and you are no longer allowed. I'm refusing to serve you. Leave now, or I'll be forced to call the police. Screw you, screw you. She continues to bellow this until the police arrive. I had to hear every single version of screw you for about 5 minutes. Do you want to trespass her? The police asked me. Yes, she isn't welcome here anymore. Police in our town are super cool with us because we give them special discounts and occasionally donate a stack of pizzas to the precinct. Okay, so you are now being trespassed. Ma'am, do not come here. Do not linger in the parking lot or you will be arrested. This applies for every single pizza store, not just this one. The defeated look on her face when he said that was almost worth the cost of admission. Story 5. Background: I'm a 20-year-old guy, and this year has been particularly tough for me. I've been attending college, and until recently, I was struggling with a streak of poor or failing grades for 2 quarters. A mix of burnout, poor time management, and depression was largely to blame. As a result, my progress toward earning my bachelor's degree has been delayed until next year. Thankfully, this quarter has been better. I've taken a lighter course load and made extra efforts to stay on track, which has paid off. Recently, the 4th My Hero Academia movie came out in theaters. I've been following the manga for about 2 years and rewatching the series with my mom, so we had planned to see it together. However, I was only about 3 or 4 weeks into the quarter, and I was terrified of slipping back into my bad habits from the previous 2 quarters. I decided to wait until after midterms to make sure I could handle going without jeopardizing my studies. Unfortunately, I didn't realize that animated movies don't stay in theaters as long as regular ones. By the time I was ready, the theaters near me had stopped showing it. There was one location a couple of hours away that was still screening it, so there was still hope. Since I'm still learning to drive, I came up with a plan to use buses to get there. It would be a long trip, but I didn't have anything urgent besides school and worked the downside of having all my friends at colleges far away. Since my mom hadn't caught up to season 7 yet, where the movie takes place, I figured I'd watch it now and see it again with her when it came to streaming platforms. I told my family about my plan, and my dad immediately shot it down. He made some valid points about the risks of relying on public transit, like the possibility of being stranded if something went wrong, the cost of bus fare, and the challenge of reaching me if there were issues. But his main argument boiled down to, it's dumb. He even brought up an incident last year when I took a train to visit a friend. The bus had been delayed, but he exaggerated the story, claiming I was an hour late and needed to be rescued before I even got there, which wasn't true. Hearing this, my mom offered to drive me instead. She didn't care as much as I'd assumed about watching the movies in order, so she was fine going along. We worked out a time, I bought the tickets, and everything seemed settled. I made sure she knew she didn't have to go just for my sake, and she reassured me she was happy to do it. Then my dad found out. He confronted me again, repeating that the trip was a bad idea. Since I wouldn't be relying on buses anymore, his earlier points were irrelevant. So he focused on how stupid it was to drive that far for a movie. When I pointed out that my brother often drove farther for concerts, he dismissed the comparison, saying, "It's not the same," without explaining why. What made it worse was how my dad reframed the situation. He insisted that I was being punished for not making time to see the movie earlier. Even though I had deliberately chosen to prioritize school, he kept framing it as a scheduling failure rather than a matter of priorities. Then, my dad and brother spent days trying to convince me that my mom didn't really want to go. They claimed she was only going to make me happy and didn't actually care about the movie. My brother went as far as saying, "She just tolerates the show." Their comments made me feel terrible, thinking I might be taking up her time for something she wasn't interested in. So, I called her to confirm. I told her she didn't have to do this and that I could wait for it to stream if she preferred. She assured me again that she genuinely wanted to see it with me. Despite not being part of the trip, my dad and brother continued to meddle. They called me selfish for going, accused me of ignoring my mom's feelings, and insisted I cancel the trip to be the bigger person. They even claimed my mom was lying about wanting to go, telling me not to trust her words. When I couldn't counter their baseless accusations, my brother smugly declared, "You don't have a response because you know we're right." Every conversation ended with my dad yelling at me to cancel the plans. Even after my mom spoke directly to them, my dad came back to rant at me again, repeating the same points. The day of the trip finally arrived. My mom and I left early for the noon screening. I paid for the tickets and gas, and we had a wonderful time. On the way there, we listened to an hour-long podcast about mummies, chatted about fantasy novels, and laughed at my failed attempt to explain the world of Warhammer. After the movie, we grabbed lunch and enjoyed the day. The film itself was enjoyable. The animation was stunning, the villain was captivating in his sheer evil, and my mom liked the romantic subplot between the movie original characters. I did wish the series' main female lead had more screen time, but that's been a consistent issue with all the movies. We hit some traffic on the way back, which delayed us by an hour, but it didn't diminish the experience. Even weeks later, my dad and brother dismissed the trip as completely ridiculous. My brother, who secretly enjoys the series despite pretending not to, claimed the movie wasn't worth it. But honestly, it was. My mom and I had a great day together, and that's what mattered most. Story 6. So this is my recently passed somewhat estranged uncle's story. He told me this story about 5 years before he passed, and I even had it confirmed by my dad. I had to have it confirmed because my uncle had turned into a very hard drug user, and his brain was basically fried every time I saw him. Anyway, so my dad had 2 brothers, one older, one younger. This story is about the older one, who we'll call Steve. Growing up, the 3 of them went to public school, played sports ec, and they were very well-liked kids for the area. All smart and came from a good family. However, this school was a pretty tough school on Long Island, and my dad and his brothers would get into a fight maybe once a month. The younger uncle more than anyone else because they thought he was an easy target. There was a guy that they were growing up with named John. John was one of those giant kids, 6 tall by the time he's 12. Has a beard. Looks like a grown man at 16. Throughout school he was a jerk. My dad has a story of them playing basketball at P, and my dad scoring against him, and he whispered in my dad's ear, "If you score again, you're going to be hurt." As the game went on, of course my dad scored, and he tells me he just remembers sliding across the wood floor after getting punched in the face as he was running back on defense. Safe to say the guy was a jerk. So they all graduate, and John is now 6'8", 280 pounds easy, and a local thug in the labor union mafia doing drugs on the side, extorting people. But no one wanted to go against him because he was a known murderer, and he had mob ties. But he was losing faith with them recently, which is important. He wasn't convicted, but he had killed something like 5 people, brutally. My Uncle Steve has started selling coke and some pot after they all were adults, and would deal with John sometimes. He always had the nicest car, the hottest girls, the newest blank. But John knew he was making money. So one night, while my uncle is weighing out some stuff, he gets a knock on the door, and it's none other than John. He comes in with a chainsaw and tries selling it to my uncle. "Steve, you see this new chainsaw? I need to sell it for $500. Typical extortion. "I don't need a chainsaw, John. I'm fine. "You're going to buy this chainsaw, Steve?" Laughing, he said, "No, I'm not. I don't need it." John proceeds to walk out and slam the chainsaw through my uncle's brand new Corvette's windshield and walks away. A week later, my uncle had gone to pick it up at the shop and left his girlfriend home to watch over the coke and whatnot. Well, while he was gone, he came to the house, kicked in the door, and beat my uncle's girlfriend. He found her hiding in the closet. Later that night, he got a call, and it was John, trying to sell him something again. I don't remember the exact conversation, but it was something like this with the threats. "Steve, if you don't buy this, the next people I'll visit are your younger brothers. I remember them from school, and I know where your parents live." "Screw you, John." "What did you say?" "I'll be over at your place at 11, and we can talk." So my uncle got his girlfriend out of the house and decided what he needed to do. He had a double-barrel shotgun and set up his kitchen. His house was situated in a way so that when you opened the front door, right to the left was the kitchen, and there was a hallway to get back towards the living room. The only light in that hallway is right about the front door. So my uncle took his oven out of its nook and situated it a certain way to where he could hide behind it. He turned every light off besides the one in the hallway. And he waited. 11 o'clock rolls around and a loud knock on the door. "Steve, open the door." "Screw you, get out of here." Door is kicked in and John, the hulking bully that he is standing in the hallway just beneath the light. He had a pistol in his hand, so my uncle shot. Like I said, my uncle told me this story when his brain was fried after years of drug abuse, so this next interaction might not be 100% true, but this is how he told it to me. John fell to his knees, clutching his chest where he was shot, and looked down and was angry. Not scared or anything, freaking pissed. Like if you hit a gorilla with a BB gun. "Steve, you jerk, you're going to drive me to the hospital now." My uncle says he said, "No, I'm going to send you to hell," but I doubt it. But he then shot John in the face and basically blew his head off. He told me the fireball that came out of the gun went in slow motion and he was in shock. He calmly put the gun down, walked to his phone and called the police department and told them what had happened. My mom and dad had just started dating around this time and had a trip planned to go skiing in Vermont, so they were planning on waking up at like 2 a.m. to start driving. But my mom's mom, grandma obviously, was staying with my parents and heard the phone ring and let the answering machine pick up. She's a bit of an oddball and doesn't do things like most normal people, so she heard the message on the voicemail. My parents wake up and my dad tells me that my grandma says something to him like, "Oh, and while you were sleeping there was a message from your brother saying something about killing John Russo," and my dad was like, "What the heck? Why wouldn't you tell me?" So my mom and dad get in their car and drive over to my uncle's house. My dad's younger brother and his wife are already there, and the older uncle is sitting on the porch talking to a police officer. My dad pulled another officer aside and got the whole story from him. My dad asked if there was going to be a crime or if he would go to jail, and the cops said no. John was a known bully and criminal, and the story that my uncle told completely absolved him of murder. It was deemed a justified homicide. He had to go to court obviously, but nothing ever happened to him. So my uncle saved all of my family's lives, including mine. But my other uncle and dad both say that it ruined him, and he turned to hard drugs shortly after. He just passed away last month, but I never really got a chance to thank him for his revenge, so I thought I'd share it here.